fans, I think, can sense it right now.
To go, inbound to Weatherspoon with one. Weatherspoon puts up the three. It's no good!
The Liberty Flames are still dancing.
Fan the Flame to the biggest victory in school history.
Georgia to inbound, gets it to AC. Deep three, pull up. He banked it in! He banked it in!
Shot at the buzzer. Good! It's good! It's good! It's Woodward!
Larry Blair reverse layup up and in, and he's fouled.
Man, you talk about degree of difficulty. With two, Georgie at the buzzer. Got it! He got it!
Darius McGee, a game for the ages.
And Liberty wins 4 games in the Big South Tournament to take home the 2013 crown. Look at Bio Baxter now.
25 for Colin Porter.
Holmesley, splash.
Shiloh Robinson with an effort play.
And Liberty keeps on coming.
A huge basket by Kyle Rowe.
Got it! Pacheco with the 3.
Liberty, put your dancing shoes on.
Well, hey, what's going on? Welcome into the A Sea of Red basketball podcast, the greatest time of the year. It is conference tournament times. The conference tournament's already going on. Liberty, still weird. Second week of the tournaments. We're excited for the show tonight. We got Matt Warner joining us, kind of an annual tradition. This is the 3rd year in a row we've had him on to help us preview the bracket. It's a lot of fun. He'll be on the call, so really excited to get his thoughts as we kind of run through this bracket. But Will, you know, this time of the year, if you're a diehard basketball fan like us sickos, you're going to lose a lot of sleep. And when you add in daylight savings time on top of this, there's only one way you can survive. And Will, how do you survive a time like this?
Ironclad coffee. Hey, got a chance to go to the new Ironclad shop in Lynchburg this weekend. Awesome place if you're in Lynchburg and get a chance to go by there. I got the tropical fruit banana collection. I've never had banana coffee before. It's pretty good. It's I was a little skeptical of it, but I thought Ironclad has never let me down before. So let me try this, and it was really good. So if you get a chance, go by there to Lynchburg and see what they got.
That's fantastic. And, of course, ironclad.com. You can do orders online. Big supporter of all things Liberty Athletics. Appreciate their support of a Sea of Red. And, definitely try to support them if you're in Lynchburg, if you're in Richmond, their store in Richmond, and, of course, across the country online. All right, well, fellas, we got a lot to get to, so we're going to jump right into it. Big weekend for Liberty basketball, going on the road, beating Middle Tennessee State, and then absolutely annihilating Western Kentucky. We're just going to have some quick thoughts before we get to the bracket with Matt Warner. John, what's kind of your quick minute thoughts on the state of Liberty basketball right now?
Well, it's easy to forget where we were, a week ago this time, coming off that loss to Kennesaw State, just less than, 48 or so odd hours after beating Jack State to go into first place and then dropping back into that basically 3-way tie. So it was a little bit nervous this week. I felt confident Liberty would get at least one of the two. But to get that win against Middle Tennessee Thursday night, obviously a huge win. Mustafa went off, obviously, with 30 points, 20 rebounds. But Taylor was enough with his 33. And then rolled on into the game Saturday against Western Kentucky. And I was trying to think when was the last time Liberty looked that good. And we have not played a game like that in Conference USA play. We've had some games like, Louisiana Tech earlier this year where we kind of dominated, and Jack State a couple weeks back where we got out to that big lead, but then they reeled us back in. But it was a complete showing, and we never let the foot off the gas. It seemed like the team finally kind of had that monkey off their back. They were playing free and loose, and it was a lot of fun to see. And to get the number 1 seed in the regular season title and got it outright. You heard Coach McKay and the players talking about they went into the locker room when the game was over and immediately turned on the Jack State Kennesaw game. So they wanted it outright too, and they got that. So it was just a lot of fun. I think they seem to play a lot more free on the road and away from home. At least they did this week. So hopefully we'll carry that over to Huntsville, but definitely feel good if you're a Liberty fan right now going into to Huntsville.
Will?
Yeah, hey, if you're gonna play your best basketball, why not play it right now and then the season? Just a great game against Western Kentucky that I didn't necessarily see coming. Like I felt confident about it, but it kind of felt like we were watching one of these games against a non-D1 at times, especially at the end there. Like how early some of Will Gibson's season, by the way, scoring his first collegiate points, coming in early. Brett Decker, incredible game. Javon Moffmer, who I said last week, I thought there was a lot more in him. Had a career game for him. So, yeah, it's just a great time. I kind of worried we haven't played a lot of these afternoon games. Most of our games are kind of late at night, but the few we have played in the afternoon, we've kind of struggled a little bit. We struggled against Kennesaw State a couple weeks ago, and that was like a 1:00 game. So, I don't know how much that plays into it, but they were ready to go yesterday.
Yeah, but my biggest takeaway is just it was nice to beat a team that you thought played really well. Like I thought Middle Tennessee played a good game, and Liberty still found a way to beat them on the road. That was encouraging. I thought Moffmer's been looking really good before the Western Kentucky game, so that's maybe my biggest takeaway. Obviously, Talon Peter is about as good as it gets, and I think in terms of like all-time Liberty great players, he's starting to climb the list. I'm not saying he's up near the top, but no one that previously played for Liberty played at this level of competition, so he deserves a lot of extra credit for that. But yeah, just excited about where this team's at right now. We'll talk about it here in a second. It's a crapshoot in these tournaments, but you can't go into the tournament feeling any better than Liberty feels right now, and that's a good place to be. All right, well, we're going to keep this moving along. I'm going to have a quick word from Jason Porter Real Estate, and then we'll be right back with our guy, Matt Warner, and we're going to talk about the tournament.
Well, hey, everybody. My name is Jason Porter. I'm with Legacy Realty and Development, and it's been a great partnership here with Sea of Red lately. I was with Liberty Athletics as the Associate Athletic Director for Sports Medicine, so took care of all of the healthcare needs and coordinated that with a fantastic staff at Liberty in the athletic department, of course, for about 5 or 6 years, and then moved into real estate full-time and with Legacy Realty and Development. And it's just been a great pleasure to continue to stay connected with my Liberty University family and the athletics family as well. Been enjoying serving them. A lot of the graduate assistants and some of the staff that I hired has come back now and has been using me for residential services, which I really appreciate. But certainly do residential real estate as far as buying and selling of homes, of course. And then also we have a strong commercial presence as well. So commercial real estate, obviously a very, very different animal than is residential. But whether it's buying and selling commercial properties or just the leasing of properties, we can help with that as well. So it's been a great opportunity to service our commercial clients as well. And then certainly on the investment front too, a number of folks who have discovered the power of passive income through real estate and investing in real estate with rental properties or fix and flips, those kind of things. And so great joy to serve my clients in that capacity as well. The other thing that I would add too is just a very, very full Rolodex at this point of contractors and subs and just different professional contacts that I've made through the years. So if I can ever provide any of those folks to you and all of a sudden you need a plumber or an electrician or a contractor to build your deck, whatever, I'd certainly be glad to give you access to that Rolodex and those references as well. Because a lot of times it's not exactly who you know, it's who you know that knows how to do the job well. And so I would be glad to provide those services for you as well. So love Flames Nation, love taking care of my Liberty family. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, my contact information is all right here on the screen. And I would love to be a service to you and yours. Thanks so much.
All right, we're pleased to be joined now by Matt Warner. And Matt, we've kind of just made it a yearly tradition at this point, having you on Talk of the Bracket. We always have so much fun. I can't quit it.
I mean, I would have been really disappointed if I hadn't gotten the message from you. I got to be honest. I was looking forward to that. So thank you for coming through on your end.
I kept you sweating. I think I waited till
You
Friday.
did. You did.
I'm a last minute guy these days.
Like, what's wrong with me? Yeah. What's the deal? Yeah.
Have I lost my luster? Well, Matt, you're going to be on the call for the round one and the quarterfinals, right?
Yep. So the first 3 days, 2 games a day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Paul Nazigan and I will be calling all of them. So it's going to be a blast.
That's awesome. What was that like last year for you guys?
Well, it was freezing cold because there was a sheet of ice under the court, but I'm told that's gone this year. So that'll be nice. It'll be a lot more comfortable. It was so much fun. I mean, it's just so much fun. Like you just feel like you're so, I don't know, involved in the league. And it's cool to call games that aren't Liberty. You know, we obviously love calling those, but you get to kind of just look at the game a little bit different way. And it's teams that maybe you haven't seen a ton of live. You get to kind of see a little bit more of them, getting to talk to all the coaches and catching up with them at shoot-arounds and stuff. It's cool to kind of, pick their brain a little bit, see how they see the league. Last year I liked asking them, like, okay, outside of yourself, who's kind of like a sneaky middle-of-the-pack team that you think could go on a run? And then getting them to break down some of the ways that they view other teams in the league. It's just really cool to kind of be involved with that. And then, I mean, anytime a tournament situation, it feels like nothing else is happening in the world except what's happening in that gym. And that's just so much fun to be a part of and just get wrapped up in it.
Matt, you can probably chime in some on this. I've had some conversations with a few people here recently just about, the tournament format and playing at a neutral site. And is it better to be at a neutral site, or, is it enough of a reward for the, top seed or top couple seeds? Obviously Liberty, the regular season champ. And, in the ASUN, you always got to play at your home court if you were the top seed or whatnot. But me personally, like being in Huntsville last year, of course, Liberty was one and done there. So that part notwithstanding, I love the neutral site environment and the feel. I mean, you got teams there, it's one or done. They're all playing for their season. They know if they're going to go to March Madness, they have to be cutting down those nets Saturday night. And you see that, you can sense it. You're there, maybe you're staying at a hotel that some of the teams are staying in. You see them check out after they lose. What's your thoughts about having a neutral site type of a tournament for a one and done or one bid a league?
Yeah, it's tough just because of the geography of it, right? And that's especially true for Conference USA. I think you'd love that, especially if you have a lot of teams within an easy driving distance. That's hard to do in this league. It's so spread out. The other factor then is, can you build up within the community that hosts the tournament? Like whether or not they're fans of the teams, can you build up that loyalty and that excitement for your tournament, even if they're not Middle Tennessee fans or Jacksonville State fans, to where they understand what kind of an event it is and put on an event that's at the level where they want to come every year and make it part of kind of what they do. So I'm interested to see this year, because of that, does the Huntsville community now in year 2, how much more do they come out? They've had a whole nother year to promote this thing, to try to sell people on the idea of it. I'm interested to see how they support it. And then in terms of this year, like, you have some teams that are, pretty easily driving distance that are competing and think they can win it all, which was a little bit different. I felt like last year, like Jacksonville State, they were the 8 seed last year. Now they think maybe we can win this thing. So do their fans show up a little bit more? Middle Tennessee on the men's side, not just the women's, do their fans show up a little bit more? So hopefully, I'm hoping the environment is better this year in year 2 there, and you get that big game feel. Because you're right, if it's a neutral site and you're able to get the people to come in, you get almost that dividing line where you see the red and the blue or whatever, the fans. That is unbelievable. I grew up going to the Big 8, Big 12 tournament in Kansas City every year, and that was unbelievable. That kind of tournament is awesome. At the same time, then you flip on and watch like Lipscomb today in the ASUN, right? And you're like, "Whoo, boy, those home courts they can get kind of wild too." And Liberty certainly experienced that. But I do think with the travel and all that would be involved in Conference USA, that'd be a little bit more difficult. So I'm hopeful that the fans really show out here this week, and it begins to be a really big and great tournament environment, beginning in Huntsville.
Lipscomb cracked me up today. I don't know if anyone watched their semifinal game against Queens. They had like 50 people at the game, and then they make it to the championship, and like the place is packed to the walls. I'm like, you bunch of posers. But no,
it's also funny, Nick. I was just going to jump in there. Sorry to cut you off. You see these teams like Lipscomb, like High Point. They have to wait until Liberty exits the league for them to be able to cut down the right.
Yeah.
That's a great point, though, Matt, about the community. I know, like Dayton really embraces the first four. Like that place is packed out every year because the locals really embrace that tournament. And a city like Huntsville is probably kind of comparable to Dayton. Kind of, there's not a whole lot going on in that area. So that'd be cool if they can build it up. I know a lot of people kind of complain about Huntsville, like why is it in Huntsville? But the city, it being a top event in that area, could really work to the advantage of CUSA.
Yeah, and again, there's no easy answer. Like, pick me a city anywhere in the country. It's not like, that works for everybody, all the fan base. Like, you're going from Las Cruces to Miami. There's no easy answer. But no, I think Huntsville, that community, and they're very sports-minded. They're doing a lot of this type of thing, bringing in big tournaments throughout the year, bring Alabamas and Auburns and people like that to play, games there, kind of one-offs there. So they are very sports-minded. So I am hopeful that this continues to build within that community because it is a great place. Like, I'd never really been there before. I enjoyed hanging out there for a week. It's a cool place to be.
Well, we'll see. There's a lot of talk about these tournaments and is it fair? Is it not fair? And I just right before we went live, the number one seed in the Sun Belt lost for a fourth straight season. They've tried everything to make that bracket fair. They got the most insane bracket with a quadruple bye or something for the number one seed, and the number one seed can't win in that league. So there's not easy solutions for this unless you just want home games, but that's really hard to build a brand too, and it does make you feel, I feel like, a little bit of a bigger deal playing in a city. So hopefully that kind of continues to build here with Conference USA.
Yeah, for sure. No, it'll be fun.
All right, let's get to the bracket. Let's start off with I guess, Matt, before we'll go through each game and each like potential matchup, but any overarching thoughts about the way this bracket shaped out?
I mean, I got to be honest. I think, and correct, you guys tell me if you think differently. I think if I were Liberty, I'd be saying, man, you know what, that 2-seed path look like. I like that first matchup a little bit better than what I'd be getting as the 1. Like when you see Western Kentucky, FIU, and obviously we just saw Western Kentucky yesterday. Like if I'm Liberty, I'm thinking, man, I'll take my chances with either of those. You see UTEP, you see Sam Houston. That's scary. I thought it was funny, and I think it was John. You were talking to Coach McKay on the post game after the game last night, and you kind of broke the news to him. He's like, "Who are we getting? Do you know who we're getting?" You're like, UTEP or Sam Houston. And he's like, "Whoa, those are good teams." It's like, yeah, they are. They are good teams. So I think at least in that first quarterfinal game, I think for Jacksonville State, they should, in theory, have a better matchup than Liberty probably will, just because of the way the bracket kind of shook out.
I'm more nervous about the first game than I would be about the second game. And there's some reason that I think statistics don't necessarily back that up that I'll talk about as we go throughout this. But I feel like this Liberty team, you got to just get through those jitters of the first game. You're the number one seed. You've kind of had this great year. If you watch college basketball, so many times the number one seed, their worst half of a tournament is the first half of their first game, when you have all the pressure on you. Now, there's no reason to think this Liberty team is going to fold under the pressure or anything like that. But that's just, in general. And I feel like both of those teams, like Sam Houston's playing as good as anyone.
Yeah, they are.
UTEP, it's like, how can they be any worse? You feel like if you're a team like UTEP, you're like, all right, well, we got through it. We have a new season now. And, we're 2 games away from getting to like the semifinals, and no one will remember the 8-game losing streak or whatever we're on right now.
Well, and they did it last year, right? They got here and they found success and went on a run last year. And I'm with you. The one thing that you feel like, so there's 2 things with that team that plays the day before they face the 1 seed, right? They've worked all those jitters out, right? They've played and they've shot in that gym. They've done all that. So in theory, sometimes you see those teams come out and start a little faster because they have a game under their belt. The other thing is, if you're UTEP, if you get a win, you feel like, okay, we're back. Like suddenly the confidence, you got it again. Like forget that losing streak. This is what we do. We're in the tournament. This is new season. Yeah, you feel like we can be that team. If you're Sam Houston, you're right. You continue to build the confidence because they've been playing as well as anybody, as you mentioned. They have maybe the best player in this conference in Lamar Wilkerson, and Cameron Hoofner's a stud as well. They have the pieces to be able to make some noise. And, all those close losses they have, they feel like they're a lot better than what their seeding ended up being. So, both of those teams, I feel like there's good reason for Liberty fans to feel a little nervous with that matchup, just given what we've seen out of them lately. And also for Liberty fans, what we saw with Sam Houston last year. Like that is a matchup and a style that I feel like does give Liberty some issues. Just that the pressure they provide, the steals, the deflections, we've seen it all from them before. And then just the recent history of them ending Liberty's season a year ago.
Well, what's your kind of overall thoughts on the bracket and kind of the way it's shaped out?
Well, first of all, I want to know if Matt thinks that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be the AL MVP this year.
Listen, I think he's got a great chance. I'm on the and Nick may know this name. You guys might. Jack Caglione. I am all in on Jack Caglione right now. He is tearing up spring training. So yes, I am all in on the Royals right now.
Big time prospect.
Yes.
No, I agree with everything you said. Just the big picture. First time I saw the bracket, I was like, man, I like that 2 seed better. But Sam Houston, they kind of bother me as a fan. Like y'all have already made me nervous enough, more so than I was just talking about this so far. But I look at it, I feel like Sam Houston State is probably somewhat of a dark horse going into the tournament. That's my opinion.
I would never bet on a tournament that Liberty's in for someone else, but I'm not going to lie. Plus 6,000 for Sam Houston. I mean, that is a ridiculously good lottery pick, if you ask me.
And think about this: like, what other league does the second from last place team, or is anyone spending time talking about as a potential, Cinderella or team that could win this thing? Like, not a lot of leagues around the country, but they are. I think that good. They have had, I think, some bad luck in a lot of those close losses, 3 overtime losses this year. I think it's 6 losses by 5 points or less on the year. So they've been very, very close throughout the season. And now they have been playing well in closing games here of late. So that they are a scary 9 seed.
Yeah.
Not something you say very often.
No. Yeah. And that's why I say it, because I feel like you said, that matchup that they provide for Liberty is difficult for whatever reason. And you go in and knock off the 1 seed by chance, you feel like you're playing with house money and you're confident going the rest of the way through. So I feel like they got some guys on that team, a lot of transfers on that team that, are just really good. And I feel like the team overall underperformed maybe as good as they actually are.
I do agree with you guys' overall take on that quarterfinal matchup, potential quarterfinal matchup, whoever it would be. I would rather, as a Liberty fan, play either Western Kentucky or FIU than Sam Houston or UTEP. But that other quarterfinal matchup that's already set, the 3-6, Louisiana Tech and Middle Tennessee, like, talk about an absolute dogfight. I'm glad Liberty doesn't have to face either one of those teams until potentially Saturday night. I wouldn't be shocked if either one of those won a couple games and got to Saturday. Obviously, Middle Tennessee was right there all season, playing for that 1 spot. And then Louisiana Tech, the preseason favorite. I don't want to see Daniel Bacho on the other side, with him, one and done type situation. I can't wait just to watch that as a fan, especially knowing that my team doesn't have to play one of these teams. But that's one that I'm glad those two are on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah, the battle of the bigs in that game, Mustafa and Bacho, that's going to be incredible. Louisiana Tech is one of those teams where I could easily see it come together for them or them lose by 25.
Sure.
Like it could go either way. That's been their season. Like, their box scores make no sense. Daniel Bacho will have 4 shot attempts in a game. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't know what to expect from them, but that they do have talent. They have one of the biggest weapons in the league in Bacho, a problem for most teams. And so, yeah, if it does all click, sure, they have the talent to go on a run, but it's been just a bizarre season.
Matt, did they remind you of Florida Gulf Coast a couple years ago? The team that we were like, they're so much better than what they've done. They're the dark horse of the tournament. They got like blown out in the first game.
It's one of those where like, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but you keep talking yourself into it. Like it should be. And then when it gets done, you look and you're like, well, they were telling us all season long who they were. We just didn't believe them. And that's kind of the way it's been for them. They've just been so inconsistent throughout the year.
They have a couple good wins of late. They beat Sam Houston, maybe the hottest team, by 24 on the road on March 1st. And then they just beat UTEP by 18. Some games in between there that they lost, but they are playing well. I have a couple thoughts I'm going to run through, and then we'll run through the bracket here. So first off, if you're kind of looking at KenPom, the KenPom numbers say Liberty got a pretty good draw here because they're avoiding Middle Tennessee and Jacksonville State till the finals. Those are the second and third best teams. New Mexico, it almost is almost an order of how the bracket filled out, really, as you look through this. But there's some other things that are very different. So this is Torvik, which is very similar to KenPom. They let you break down by segments of the year. This is since I said February 1st. So Liberty's number 1, but then New Mexico State and Kennesaw are 2 and 3, and then Sam Houston's number 4. So that one's not looking necessarily as good and as comfortable. And then you have shot quality, which really doesn't make me feel good when I looked at these numbers. Sam Houston is second, and UTEP is third in terms of their rankings. And look how far down Middle Tennessee and Jacksonville State are. So they say that Middle Tennessee and Jacksonville State are due for some regression. Sam Houston is due for a lot of positive regression. They say Liberty's a little bit overrated, but still the best team in the conference by a little bit of a margin. Now, I say all this, and you look, if you probably can't see the numbers, but the rankings aren't that high, of that despairing. So I don't know. I don't know really exactly what you put all into these numbers. I just kind of present them, and then I kind of say, for the most part, probably throw most of them out the window. These are individual games, 18 to 20-year-olds playing basketball. There's a lot of reasons you could talk yourself into why this team's better than the other. But the way this league is this year, it's who plays the best on any given night. Outside of FIU, with all due respect to them, any team could be harder than another team on a given night, just the way this season has played out.
No, I'm with you. I think legitimately 9 teams you could talk yourself into going on a run. It's hard to say that about Western Kentucky, given what we just saw, but you still have Don McHenry, you still have Christian Lander, 2 guys that can absolutely catch fire. And so even with all the injuries they've sustained, like the right night, like you said, if those guys are feeling it, they can certainly carry Western Kentucky to a win or 2 in this tournament if the circumstances are right.
One more quick point on Western Kentucky. I couldn't find it because I don't pay $1,500 a month for shot quality, but they had it free yesterday and it went away. But the shot quality score, which is like the predictive based on what should have happened, I think it had Liberty winning by like 2 points, which I was like, no, there's no way. But maybe it's a blessing that you don't play Western Kentucky again. I know you feel great, you just beat them. It's good. It would be hard if you're Liberty and you go into a quarterfinal matchup against Western Kentucky to not be like, we just beat the snot off these guys. And I just saw it in the Missouri Valley tournament. Indiana State, who did they play? Illinois State. I can't remember who they played, but they had just beat them by 25 points the last game of the regular season, lost in the quarterfinals. So, again, they're all one individual games. One more thing before we go to these individual games. The betting odds. I wanted to ask each of you about this. Were you shocked that New Mexico State has the second best odds?
You know what? You talk about Bart Torvik. You can go on that website. I've been messing around with it lately, and you can basically, they will simulate the tournament, right? The conference tournament, you can simulate it. And they had Liberty as like 45% chance to win it, easily the favorite. They had by a decent margin, and this was before Saturday, so it may have changed a little bit. They had New Mexico State as like 15% or 18% second best percentage to win Conference USA. So they were very high on them as well in these simulations. So I guess I am, but at the same time, they've been playing great defense, especially over the last month and a half, like really since the start of February. They've been really locking it down. The one thing that worries you is, like, can you go through an entire tournament playing games like the 50s and low 60s? Like, can they do that? And I just don't know that they can do that over, you know, a 3-game span.
Yeah, opposite question with could Liberty sustain 3 games, you know, with opponents scoring, you know, in the 80s or something like that.
Well, and that's, you talk about
yeah.
how well Liberty's playing. Like, that is still a concern, I think, or should be for Liberty. Yeah, there you go. So what do we got? So it's shifted a little bit. Middle Tennessee has definitely moved up, and they had New Mexico State, I think it was on Thursday or Friday, at like 15, 16%. But yeah, still have them as so it's interesting. I don't know that they can do that if they don't score the basketball a little bit better than they have been. But yeah, Liberty, that is a concern for me too. We easily forget the 2 games where their opponent scored over 80. It's very un-Liberty like. The Western Kentucky game kind of helped us forget that. But that is something that concerns me just a little bit, that we saw that from them in 2 of the last 3 games.
One positive of being the 1 seed that we haven't really touched on is, Liberty gets about 18 hours off, assuming they win, which is a big assumption because anybody can beat anybody in this league.
Yeah.
We've learned that all season. But they get about 18 hours off roughly after. I shouldn't say 18. It's more than that, isn't it? It's more like 24. It's like 36 hours off between most games because, right, you're playing Wednesday evening, then you play not again till Friday afternoon, and then not again till Saturday night. So, and that Wednesday Friday turnaround is a similar like Thursday Saturday turnaround they've done all conference season. So that was something I think a lot of us had talked about. Just the depth issues, the depth concerns. I think the way the bracket breaks down for the 1 seed, which is how Conference USA designed it, is that might not be as much of a concern. Obviously, Liberty's got their top 6 that, are going to play a lot of minutes. And then I think Xander Yates has kind of carved out a decent role for himself as a 7th man. After those 7, I think G. McKay will probably get in here and there. But after those top 7, I think McKay will probably pull back tighten the reins a little bit on that rotation, and he'll just let those top 6, and then Xander, I think, too, as well, but just let those top 6 go as much as they can, as long as they stay out of foul trouble, which for whatever reason would seem to be an issue this past week, which hasn't been much of an issue all season. But I think that's a good thing for Liberty, just the way it, kind of breaks down for them.
And we've been saying all year long, like kind of in different press conferences and things with Richie, kind of hinting at like, so, top 2 seed, you get that day out, whatever. And he's always, every single day, doesn't matter. But I'm with you, and I've said it all year long. I feel like because of how Liberty is built, it matters more for them than it does for some other teams to have that day off, assuming you win your first game. I do think that's a big deal for them.
Yeah, and even the turnaround from Friday to Saturday. I mean, you play 11:30 Central Time in the morning on Friday, and if you get to Saturday, you don't play till 8:00 that next night.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, you got 30 hours or whatever it is between games, which not that much of an issue, I don't think.
Because this is not Paradise Jam. I know they always go back to, we did. I'm like, the legs are feeling a little different at this point in the year than they were at that point in the year, and you're down Isaiah Enon as well,
and so, the stakes on the game,
and the stakes as well. So it is different. I think
it's so hard because Brett Decker looks so good on Saturday. It's like, why would you tease me with him in the last game of the year? Because it's like, man, he could be such a weapon. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious what the reasoning for playing him, because it was early in the game that he came in, right?
Yeah. I think it was like 8 or 10 minutes left still in the first half.
Still in the first half, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Matheny played probably less minutes than he usually does, and that might go back to getting that shoulder banged up a little bit. He didn't shoot particularly well yesterday, like 0 for 6 or something like that. So I wonder how healthy he is, but maybe that time off would be important to somebody like Caden.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Well,
yeah. All right, let's run through these. Let's run through these. Wrong one. Let's run through these brackets here. I'm still on the wrong one. All right, there we go. All right. So UTEP Sam Houston, Matt, you're on the call for this. I mean, it certainly feels like Sam Houston should win this game. I mean, they have everything going for them. The prediction on this is 76-75 UTEP. So
wow.
all I know is this should be a really fun, great matchup. But Matt, what's your thoughts on this one?
I mean, my gut is Sam Houston on this one. I feel like when you get into these kind of situations, you look for those stars that can really kind of emerge and carry a team. And Lamar Wilkerson's the best player on the court. That guy is an absolute beast. I saw today, first Sam Houston player since they joined Division I think it was in 1983, to average 20 points per game. So he's had a fantastic season, certainly been under the radar because of their record. But he and Cam Hoofner, another guy that can really shoot it. And then you got their big man Sacco, gives you some length in the middle. He's a decent player. So I think they're going to get it done. UTEP is just, I don't know. Like, I know they've been close in some ball games. I like Otis Frazier a lot, but a lot of the other guys in that group, Ahmad Bynum I like as well too. He's kind of a tough shot maker. But some of those other guys have just been so inconsistent throughout the year. I'll take Sam Houston, who's kind of been on the rise here of late.
If you would have asked me about a month ago, I would have said I absolutely would dread having to play UTEP. I don't know what has happened to them. They've lost 7 straight. And, again, a month ago, I thought they would have been more likely to be the 1 or the 2 seed than the 8 seed. So, this is an intriguing game. They just played Thursday night. I believe that was a game that was at Sam Houston, and it was a 2-point win for the Bearcats. So it should be a competitive game. UTEP, despite losing 7 straight, they've been in most of those games. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I don't really like the matchup against UTEP for Liberty because, they kind of had our number prior to us going out there and beating them in El Paso a few weeks back in a really good game. But even that one was a dogfight. So, but you can say the same about Sam Houston. But yeah, I think we talked about it back when Sam Houston, came up here to Liberty Arena and nearly pulled one off against the Flames, that they're just a team you don't want to play. And not in March, not with, nothing to lose. They got off to such a rough start in conference play. And now they feel like, they got a new start to the season. They're playing a lot better, got to be feeling pretty confident. So it'd be hard to bet against, like you said, Matt, Wilkerson and the Bearcats. And plus what they did, they were in Huntsville last year. Both of these teams were and won a couple games. I think they actually played in the semifinals, I believe. And UTEP had the upset there. So both these teams are familiar with each other in Huntsville. So should be a really good game. I think we'll say that through every single matchup we talk, but it'll be a great game, and one that Coach McKay, I'm sure, and the coaching staff will be on the edge of their seat watching that one.
If you're Liberty, you just hope they just beat the snot out of each other.
Triple overtime.
Right. You just want, and they very well could. It's going to be one of those kind of games. It's going to be up and down. It's going to be physical. I am really looking forward to that matchup. I think it's going to be great.
It's fun that we get to watch all these games, man. I hated the ASON tournament when they all played at the same time.
Yes, I agree.
And then this tournament's going to be just awesome. So I'm excited to watch all these games. That last game last week, 89-87. Sam Houston is a really good offensive team, one of the best in the conference. UTEP's one of the best defensive teams. Now, flip it. UTEP's one of the worst offensive teams. Sam Houston's one of the worst defensive teams. So, my thoughts on this, again, most of these matchups I feel like are a crapshoot. The one thing I do, if I had to pick one way or the other, I would rather play the bad offensive team, because I feel like Liberty in this tournament is going to be as locked in as they possibly can defensively. They're going to give 110% effort. McKay's going to have them. The offense is the one thing that you can't predict how it looks on a given night, because Liberty shoots a lot of threes, and sometimes you make them, sometimes you don't. So I'd rather play the team that I know is going to struggle to score and give me a chance, as opposed to a team like Sam Houston, where you come out cold, you can play as good a defense as you want. Sam Houston's going to hit some tough shots. UTEP, I don't think, is going to hit as many tough shots. So I would guess I take Sam Houston in this one, but I would prefer to play UTEP. Will?
Agree. I'm going Sam Houston. We played them last time. Marcus Boykin is their point guard. He was injured to start the year. When he came back, I believe he started coming off the bench, but he scored 23 against Liberty. Colin Porter was guarding him, and he was just beating Colin Porter off the dribble every time. And then stopping and hitting mid-range shots, and Liberty just had no answer for him. And then, when he wasn't shooting, he was getting the ball to Hoffner and to Wilkerson. And so just that matchup, for whatever reason, it scares me. I don't know if, I'm sure Richie will maybe changes that matchup, or, maybe does something different with Porter and Boykin like that. But yeah, I got to go Sam.
One other thing in this matchup, and then moving forward, that I think when UTEP is involved, especially, I remember Paul Naskin saying this last year, and it's completely true. How the games are officiated with a team like UTEP is one of the biggest factors that there is, because they are going to foul. It's just a matter of, will they be called every time? They are going to try to force turnovers. It's what they do. And so how the game is called, if they're just going to let you play. And I do feel like in the tournament last year, there were a number of times where Naz and I looked at each other and we're like, my goodness, like guys are getting mugged and they're not blowing the whistle. If they let you play like that, that makes UTEP even scarier because of how they play defense.
All right, let's move on to Western Kentucky FIU. The official prediction is Western Kentucky will win 74-68, according to KenPom. This is one Western Kentucky was playing pretty good up until that Liberty game on Saturday. They beat La Tech. They beat UTEP on the road. They lost to New Mexico State on the road, but then they beat FIU at home. They just beat FIU, actually, 76-67. This is a game I'm taking Western Kentucky, and I'm probably going to put a little bit of a coin on Western Kentucky to cover this game. I think they're going to win this game by double digits. That's my prediction. Matt?
I mean, I think Western Kentucky wins. It's just if they take care of the basketball, they win. I mean, it comes down to that. If FIU doesn't turn them over, I think they'll be fine. FIU is just such a poor 3-point shooting team. I think they're like 345th in the country or something like that in 3-pointers made per game. They've just had such a tough season shooting the basketball. I don't think they have anybody on that squad that can really carry them for a win or two. And so, I think Western Kentucky certainly has the experience. And remember, they went into the tournament last year having lost 4 straight. So they were able to shake that off. They lost to Liberty. I think it was in the last regular season game then, too. Yeah. They were able to shake that off then and flip the page and go on the run to win the title. So they have a lot of veterans on that team still. Yeah, I think they'll get that first win for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody will be picking Western Kentucky. I don't think you'll have many picking an FIU win here, and what Western Kentucky should win this. A couple things that I'll point out is, like, Jeremy Ballard's probably coaching for his job. I mean, things haven't gone well for them down in Miami the past few seasons, so I wouldn't be shocked if he's on the hot seat and wanting to pull a couple wins here to maybe extend his stay in Miami. And then Western Kentucky, I mean, again, I know we all sat there and watched it, but coming off that loss to Liberty, like, what does that do to them? Like, how are they internally in the locker room? Are they still bought in? Do they think they still can, put it together here, having to go, because they were playing to get in the top 6 and have a bye. And then they kind of lay an egg on their senior day, which they had, 13 seniors they celebrated, which is insane in and of itself. But, so those couple things that, I'm thinking about, if FIU can keep this thing close, late, we talk about it a lot in March. If the underdog can keep the thing close late, all the pressure goes on the other team, right? I mean, FIU is not going to have any pressure on them. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all going to pick Western Kentucky. And but I mean, again, we saw FIU. What was it? Last Saturday, they took Jack State to double overtime and really should have won that game. So they can pull off the win. I mean, it's a 7-10. It's not, like they're even playing a Jack State or a Liberty or a Middle. It's a Western Kentucky team who's struggled lots of times, this season. So, don't just assume FIU is gonna lose this one. I think we all expect that to happen. But those are a couple of things I'll be watching when these two tip off. Tuesday night?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going Western as well. But they just played Thursday, so in a pretty close game. So it should be interesting to kind of see how they turn around the next week and play each other again. I think was it like a 9-point game or something like that. Mm-hmm. I looked at it earlier, but I don't have it up. But yeah, I'm going to go Western, but it wouldn't be a shocker for me to see FIU sneak one out.
I'd be pretty shocked. The one thing that does make me a little concerned if I was Western Kentucky is a first-year coach in the tournament. You just never know. You know, a guy that's never been a head coach in a conference tournament game. I mean, sometimes these guys are great, but you know, when you've never experienced that might give me a little bit of pause, and that's going to be something that I might have a little bit of pause with Kennesaw when we get to that. But let's go to Liberty. We kind of talked about it briefly, but we'll start with you. Did you say who you would rather play out of the two of UTEP and Sam Houston?
UTEP. I think I'd rather play UTEP. Liberty had a really good win against him earlier in the year, and I felt like at that time that was a pivotal game, and I felt like Liberty kind of figured it out. And so I'd rather them play UTEP. I feel like they would have more confidence. I feel like Sam Houston's kind of a matchup issue.
I'd rather play neither of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Sam Houston, I could talk into either one of them or talk myself out of either one of them. You know, Sam Houston, you know, they're the hotter team, obviously. You know, UTEP's lost 7 in a row. Sam Houston's playing a lot better. Lamar Wilkerson's a problem. You made a good point too earlier, Will, about Boykin. Like, he gave us a problem a few weeks back at Liberty Arena. We couldn't do anything with him. He reminded me of Chris Clemens a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't really want to play Sam Houston, but you know, we beat him twice too. You know, the old adage, you know, how hard is it to be the same team 3 times? And then, you know, you look at UTEP again, they ended our season on the same floor last year in the quarterfinals. You know, I don't want to see them either. And obviously if Liberty does see them, they would have figured things out and stopped that 7-game losing streak. And I think UTEP has some talent. Obviously, I mean, they have talent enough to win a few games here this week, but I'm not exactly sure what's going on. And again, I haven't watched a lot of their games. I kind of been, you know, following them just like I follow everybody else in the league. So I'm not sure why they're on such a losing streak, and if they're fractured at all or anything like that. But you know, I know that UTEP's given us problems. I remember what happened the second half of that game down in Huntsville last year. I remember what they did to us at Liberty Arena just a few months back, and how tough it was to go to El Paso and pick that win up. So it doesn't matter who we play; it's going to be a dogfight. Honestly, if you made me pick who I'd rather play, it's probably Sam Houston, but I don't feel confident in either one. You know, I should say I feel confident in Liberty. Like, this team is playing really good, and we shouldn't forget that. And they're veteran, they're poised, they have a really good head coach and some really good players. So I'm confident in the team, but I'm not going to be any game you go into when it's, you know, do or die. You're not going to be 100% confident until, you know, time's ticking off at the end of the game and you're up by double figures. But if I had to pick one, I think I'd rather play Sam Houston.
Matt, who do you think Liberty would rather face?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same boat. They both feel like bad options, but I think Liberty would probably rather get UTEP just because of how they're playing. I know in their loss to Louisiana Tech on Saturday, Joe Golding was like, "Our offense is awful. We're just playing all one-on-one. There's no passing involved. It's like first guy to touch it shoots it." He's like, "We can't win this way." So it seems like they're in more of a funk. It's more of something that they're really fighting through on the offensive end. And yeah, Lamar Wilkerson just scares the heck out of me. Like, he could drop 30 on you on any night. So I don't think UTEP has anybody that can do that. So if I'm Liberty, yeah, as scary as it is, I think UTEP is the team you probably want to see.
Yeah, let's not forget Liberty's plus 115 to win this tournament. You can't really be in a much better spot in a neutral site tournament than Liberty is. Now, will it happen? I don't know.
Does it feel that way right now?
It doesn't feel like it, but you know what? No. I will never. Yeah, I've learned something the hard way many times. You never discredit Vegas. So if Liberty's plus 115, they're plus 115 for a reason.
When we get to it, I have a stronger opinion on who I would rather play in the semifinals.
Okay, all right. Let's talk Jack State. This Jack State team is interesting. Obviously, probably going to have the player of the year, I think, right? And
he shouldn't be.
Should be Taylor Peter.
Should be Peter.
I mean, talk about a way, which is weird. He's not even in the top 5 on Ken Palm, so I really have a hard time. But man, I would have pulled for it. I don't know. This Jack State team, they're really good, but they haven't won 2 games in a row since February 6th through 8th. That's kind of an interesting kind of thought, the way they're coming into this tournament. Their wins, La Tech, UTEP, and FIU. That's their wins since February 8th.
Wasn't that FIU game double overtime?
Yes, double overtime. Yeah. UTEP was by 8 at home. La Tech was by 2 points on the road. So Jack State's not necessarily in the game against Liberty. They scored 55 points.
Yeah.
I think Western Kentucky could beat Jacksonville State. I think when I fill out the bracket, I'm going to have WKU in the semifinals. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think. I mean, when you rely so much on one guy, I think you kind of leave yourself open to that. And Jerome Pierre's that guy for them. Like, if he's not cooking, like, who else do you feel like can carry this team? Mason Nicholson's a nice player, but you know what? Just think back to a year ago. They had Kiki Tandy. He was the leading scorer in the league, and they ended up getting upset by FIU in the 9-8 game because Tandy just happened to have an off night, just happened to not score that night. And even though they got, I think it was 14 and 10 from Nicholson, it ended up not mattering in that ball game. So it's all riding on Pierre. And if he doesn't get you 25 plus, something in that range, if you're feeling a little bit nervous if you're a Jacksonville State team, because, you don't have a lot of other guys that have really proven it in a game like this. Yet the freshman point guard House, I know he's kind of been hitting a little bit of a freshman wall. Corey Cotton, the sophomore transfer in, he's never really been in a game like this or an environment like this at the collegiate level. So you do have a lot of question marks on that team outside of Pierre. And so, yeah, you're really relying on him to carry you.
Yeah, I've never been high on Jack State necessarily. I know they got the best of us, especially in that second half down there in Jacksonville, a month or so ago. But I think it was a little bit of fool's gold they were playing with the start they had, playing so good at home. And they've kind of, like you said, Nick, they've been struggling the past few weeks, alternating wins and losses their last 6 times out or so. So, but they are a good team. They're solid defensively. And yeah, Pierre, you never know. He could always, go for 30 plus and just carry them to a win. I do like their matchup against Western Kentucky or FIU, either one. I think, Western Kentucky, I just haven't been hot on them either. Like, I know they stole that one against Liberty in that conference opener, but that's so long ago. And I just don't think that this is the same Western Kentucky team we saw last year. I think that's kind of proven itself out. I think we kind of saw some of that Saturday. So I would expect Jack State to kind of move on here into the semifinals. It'll be interesting, though. I mean, they could go cold and Western Kentucky could pull the upset, but I would expect Jack State to advance here, regardless if it's Western or FIU.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Jack State, as you said, John, it's a little bit of a downward trajectory over the last, month and a half, 2 months. But yeah, still kind of jealous of, their quarterfinal matchup either way.
I'm not jealous of their semifinal matchup, though. Jack State during the regular season, they did go 4-0 against WKU and FIU, but they were close games. Jack State won a lot of close games this year. So Western Kentucky, they won on the road by 6, then they beat them at home by 2. FIU, they beat by 4, and then in double overtime. So they've played a lot of close games, won all 4 of them. I think there's a real good chance they get beat. I'll definitely take the spread on Western Kentucky. If they
two things on them, though, to keep in mind. You talk about, like, coaches maybe first time. You talk about Hank Plona first time in the tournament. Well, Ray Harper's been doing this for 30 years, and he's a very good coach. The other thing to talk about, one of the reasons Liberty fans are always worried, well, Jacksonville State, I believe they're still the top free throw shooting team in this league. So when you get to closing out a ball game, when you get to that, last couple of minutes where you got to knock them down from the stripe, they've been doing that all year long. So that's one other thing in these type of tight ball games that could be an advantage for them.
That's a great point on Harper. Yeah, that definitely should be He's probably by far, in my opinion, the second best coach in this tournament, certainly experience wise.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee might have something to say about that, but it'll be interesting. I'm excited for that game, and we'll see. All right, so let's move on to the quarterfinals. Kind of weird the way this shakes out because these are quarterfinal games. We talked about semifinal games, but Kennesaw, New Mexico State will start there. I think this is a defensive struggle. Both of these teams are good defensive teams, lackluster offensive teams. Now I know you probably are like, are you kidding me? I just saw Kennesaw put up 85 on Liberty. That's an anomaly based on their season for the most part. I think New Mexico State wins. I would rather play. I don't think it matters. I love the matchup either way because neither one of these teams can score enough to beat Liberty, in my opinion.
If I'm Liberty, I don't want to see Kennesaw State. I don't want to see that again.
I want to bring it on.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
I do think if this game is in like 65 or below, then that's a New Mexico State. They're probably winning. If it goes above that or 70 plus, I think Kennesaw probably wins it. Kennesaw, I think, has the potential to be a little bit more explosive offensively with the two players, and Cottle and Woolley, those two guys. And just think about their last two games. On the road at Liberty win, on the road at Jack State win. Like, that's as impressive as like back-to-back as we've probably seen in the league this year. So they're peaking at the right time, if that means anything. They're a young team, so they don't know what they don't know. So I think they're a scary team in this tournament with those two scores. If they can get going and get comfortable, I think they're definitely scary. And New Mexico State, like, you need somebody to score. And so is it Christian Cook? Can he have a breakout kind of tournament? I think he's capable. The Filipovich kid, I like him a lot. Kind of a poor man, Zach Cleveland. But Kennesaw State, those two scores, like, they're scary to me. I think that they're a scary group if they get going.
What's insane about those two scores is the two games before that, Kennesaw lost to FIU 76-61. They scored 61 points. The game before that, they lost to New Mexico State at home 60-49. So,
which is why when they came to Liberty, I thought, Liberty might hold them to 55 today, you know, and then we saw what happened. But yeah, it's crazy.
Matt, you need to also know Kirby is a contrarian at heart. So I texted him the other night and I was like, man, Kennesaw, that would be a tough matchup. And he says 0 chance that Kennesaw would win that game. And I'm like, what? And then I go on Twitter and people are like, scared of Kennesaw, don't want to see Kennesaw. And Kirby's like, yeah, that'd be a pretty tough matchup. Like, but I think if Kennesaw loses this quarterfinal matchup, relegate them back to the ASUN. We don't want to see them anymore. They've got our number. I don't know what it is. Don't care to see them ever again.
Yeah, I agree. I'd much rather play New Mexico State, and they may be the better team, the Aggies. But Cottle and Woolley, those guys, I'd be having nightmares of them all Thursday night going into Friday before we had to play them. And I don't expect, if we were to play Kennesaw, I certainly would not expect them to shoot plus 60% in the second half like they did last Sunday. But I just.
But they did it. They did it again yesterday.
They did.
They did it again in the second half and got incredibly hot in that win yesterday as well.
They did.
And to have to play them at 12:30 the next day, what?
Yeah, it's a crazy turnaround for those two teams that have to come out of the Thursday night quarterfinals. But I wouldn't want to play them. We remember last time we played them in a conference tournament. We know what they did to us pretty much in every sport that we play. I mean, they ended indoor men's track and field 27-year streak of championships. They ended football's conference streak.
They would beat our ping pong team.
They've been beating us in everything. So I do not want to play them in this conference tournament at all. And I say that New Mexico State, it's not going to be an easy game either. Obviously, I mean, they're a 5 seed. They really should have been the 4 seed. They kind of limped home the last week or two, but they've been playing a lot better basketball. They've been a little bit of a streaky team. Remember, they came into Liberty Arena 4-0, and then they lost a bunch in a row. Then they seems like they figured it out here down the stretch. So both of those teams are kind of peaking and seem to be on an upward trend going into the conference tournament. And you said it, Matt. Those wins Kennesaw's got at Liberty and at Jack State. Not many teams have done that this year. They may be the only team that has done that. So they're playing well. But I would, looking at these compared to even the UTEP Sam Houston game, it's like I'd almost rather play one of these teams in the quarterfinals. But again, this league is crazy. The top 9 teams have been able to beat anyone on any given night. And I expect some crazy outcomes to happen this week in Huntsville.
I don't know, man. I'd rather play the plus 1,400 team than the plus 500 team. Vegas knows what they're doing. One just last thought is just Mexico State is really good defensively. Like they are 65th in the country in defensive efficiency, and they slow the tempo down, which obviously Liberty slows the tempo down, not nearly as much as Liberty used to, but that game's not going to have a lot of possessions. And that's what New Mexico State, man, I think New Mexico State has a much better chance of keeping the game close against Liberty than Kennesaw. I think Liberty I don't think Liberty's would be able to blow out New Mexico State. I'm not saying they would, but I'm not saying they would blow out Kennesaw, but I think they have a chance to get up double digits and have a comfortable lead. You just don't have enough possessions to get a comfortable lead against New Mexico State. Again, I'd rather play the defensive-minded teams, but the few possessions, they're really good defensively. Don't love that. The good thing is those teams have to play each other, and how good they play defensively. Usually when you're really good defensively, you have to play really, really hard. And so hopefully these guys just beat the daylights out of each other, assuming Liberty's fortunate enough to advance to the semifinals. And you're playing an absolutely beat-up team on short rest.
Yeah, and don't forget that Kennesaw team. They love to do that 1-3-1 half-court trap, and that's kind of given Liberty fits. It did last week, and especially that link they've got out there on the perimeter. So it seemed like so many times Liberty would were just hesitant, and they didn't attack. They weren't themselves. It kind of took them out of their game offensively. So that's a tough matchup. Just going up against that defense seems to have our number so far this year. Again, I mean, we could sit here and talk about it round and round in circles, but any team that you play this week, it's going to be a tough matchup, and we're going to be sweating it out to the end. But in New Mexico State, I agree with you, Nick. Them and Liberty are the top 2 defensive teams in the conference, and I feel like Liberty has more offensive firepower than the Aggies do. So if you're in a game like that, I feel like a Peter, a Matheny, a Porter, Cleveland, somebody's going to figure it out enough to put the Flames over the top. That's at least what I think. We're all saying this here Sunday night, not even knowing if these matchups will come out to play, but that's just kind of, the thoughts that are in my head when I'm hearing you and thinking about that New Mexico State potential matchup.
New Mexico State's only lost 1 game by double digits all year. They keep it close. In conference play. I don't know about what they did earlier in the year, but they keep their games close. All right. Middle Tennessee La Tech. I think this might be, as a fan, the game I may be most excited about, just because you don't know what La Tech's team's going to show up. Obviously, Bacho is incredible. Sean Newman can really score. Can have some really good moments. That Middle Tennessee team, I feel like Liberty played really well in that game to beat them. Middle Tennessee has played as good as anyone down the stretch. They've won 4 of their last 5. The only loss was that loss to Liberty. I think Middle Tennessee advances, but I don't know. It just depends on what Louisiana Tech team shows up.
Yeah, I think Middle Tennessee, certainly just based off of what we've seen consistently this year, I would give them the nod in this ball game. I mean, we talked about the battle of the bigs. That's going to be awesome. Mustafa's been playing great. But then Justin Porter's a guy that can go off on any night. He's a big-time scorer. We've seen him play well in this tournament before. Cameron Weston, who was out all of last year, he's a huge weapon for them as well. They've gotten a little bit healthier here of late, getting some guys back. I think it was Kamari Lands who missed a bunch of games in conference play. He's back and playing well. So I think their roster, Richie said at one point he thinks they're the most talented team maybe in the whole league. Their roster, I think, is better. But Louisiana Tech, if there's one guy who you'd say was maybe an X factor outside of Newman and Bacho, I think it's Al Green. Is that right? I'm forgetting it. Is that right?
Amari.
Amari Abrams as well.
There's Al Green. Al Green.
He's a guy that can knock down the three for them, and is more of just a guy that's hunting his shot, more so than Newman, who is more of a creator and obviously leads the league in assists. So that would be an X factor for me. He's a guy that could go knock down 4 or 5 threes and kind of turn this game a little bit.
Kind of funny thing. Louisiana Tech's 2-0 against Middle this year, so it's kind of like, is that just a good matchup for them? I don't know, but so that'll be interesting to see. But I feel like Middle Tennessee, like they've been the more consistent team. Like they've shown who they are over and over again. And Louisiana Tech, we've talked about it already. They've just been up and down, inconsistent. Every time you feel like they're going to figure it out and turn things around, that they go and lose. And, and they've had some lopsided losses too in conference play. So I wouldn't be shocked, obviously, if Louisiana Tech wins, but I feel like, Coach McDevitt, he's a good coach. He knows how to get things done in March. They had a rough year of it, last year with injuries and things, and they seem to, they've been healthy, seem to have putting everything together this season. And you would expect that Middle Tennessee would have a decent crowd there. I mean, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours from Murfreesboro to Huntsville, so you would expect they'd have a decent showing, certainly more than Louisiana Tech. So if they can, get their fans behind them and maybe turn it into somewhat of a home game for them, but I would expect Middle Tennessee to get the win here. I think they're a really sneaky team this week. Like I think if they can put things together and play their basketball, they have a chance to go on a run and maybe even cut down the net Saturday night. Hopefully, here on the Sea of Red podcast, we obviously want Liberty to be doing that, but I think Middle Tennessee has a chance to get it done this week.
I think the winner of this game plays in the championship.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee, like they just feel like a team that is built to win a conference tournament. With Mustafa, the way he plays, the other guys around him, McDevitt has been, I don't know how many postseasons he's been to, but all the way going back to Asheville, he's a really good coach, and he's had Liberty's number in the past. Richie got him twice this year, so. That's one of those teams. If it gets there, can we beat them a third time? I feel like that comes into play a lot.
I remember that was one of the big upsets at the tournament last year was Middle Tennessee knocking off Louisiana Tech when they were, I think, the 2 seed a year ago. So that was one of the big upsets a year ago, and now it's kind of the roles have been flipped.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game. 9:00. Love that time. Kids will be in bed. I'll be locked in for this one. I'm excited about
it'll be the last game Matt and Naz will be on the call for. So
that's right. We're emptying the tank on that one. We got to leave just enough left in the tank to really get fired up for that one.
You're getting 4 overtimes for sure on your way out. One last point on Middle Tennessee. McDevitt's been there. I think this is his 7th year. They were really bad those first couple years. He's had to grind through to get them to this point where they're at. And so I think when you kind of are a program and a coach that's kind of gone through that and you get to this point, I feel like I don't want to say all these coaches are motivated, but just gives you a little bit of extra juice, I think, for like this tournament. So, I just was incredibly impressed with them. All right, let's go around the room. Tell me your championship game and who wins. Will, we'll start with you.
I'm going Kennesaw State and Middle Tennessee. Yep. Do it. It's okay.
Who you got winning?
We booted him off.
Middle Tennessee.
Wow.
Wow.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Did Liberty win? No.
Well, we hope you're wrong.
Wow.
I hope I'm wrong too.
I'll go with Liberty in Middle Tennessee and Liberty winning it.
Matt, are
Yeah.
you allowed to do this?
I don't know if I'm allowed to do this or not. But if I just had to do, I would go Liberty, Middle Tennessee as well. And I think Middle Tennessee would probably be the one to come out on top in another tight game like we saw here a couple of games ago.
You're not going to kick Matt Warner off, are you?
We said Liberty, Middle Tennessee, not Kennesaw.
with Middle Tennessee winning.
Well, it's better than Kennesaw. Come on. I was gonna say Liberty Middle, but I gotta be a contrarian here. We can't all do that. I'm gonna say Liberty La Tech, and I'm gonna say Liberty beats La Tech in the championship. I really think whoever wins that Middle La Tech game gets to the championship. Liberty's the best team in this conference. Doesn't mean they're going to win this tournament, but they're the best team. So I certainly feel good about it, as good as you could possibly feel in one of these sickening tournaments where everything comes down to how kids shoot the basketball. Will, after that disgusting prediction, I hope Kennesaw lose by 50 to New Mexico State.
I mean, I hope
and
they do too.
I'm going to have that clip ready to roll.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Well, what's your final thoughts on this tournament?
Man, I don't like tournaments because it's too much stress in my life. Okay. Man, yeah, I don't like the matchup side of the bracket that Liberty's on. I feel confident in Liberty. I don't feel confident about the matchups, but and I'm just looking forward to it. I don't like the 12:30 Friday game. That just seems weird to me. It seems like a weird time for the 8th best conference in the nation to have their game. So
it is kind of nice though if you follow national, because the Big East, a lot of the other
ACC.
conferences, they don't play it during the day on Friday. Now I think the teams that play their championships on Sunday play their quarterfinal games on Friday, but there's not nearly as many games like on Thursday. So there honestly probably are more eyeballs during the day than if you did do it tonight. And I'm sure it's for TV, because I know CBS Sports Network also has the Mountain West tournament at night. They probably have another tournament too. But in terms of eyeballs, it actually is good for Conference USA. But I get what you're saying. It does kind of feel weird. But hey, if you win, it's going to feel great, man. You got all Friday night to be excited, all day Saturday excited for the game. It's going to be pretty awesome if you're able to win. John, what's your final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great season for Liberty already. What Coach McKay has done. I really hope he gets the Coach of the Year award. I know we'll find that out here soon, and hopefully at least one player's on first team all conference. They deserve it. But what Coach McKay has done, you go back a year ago, losing to UTEP after going 7-9 in conference play, for him to get into the transfer portal, and pull in Peter and Moffmer, and then also Owen, Isaiah Enan as well too. Obviously, he's not here playing with them right now, obviously with a knee injury, but just a tremendous job he's done. And it wasn't that long ago that Liberty was on that three-peat, right, in the ASUN, just rolling through teams, going 14-2 and 13-3 in conference every year. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but you're sitting here thinking like, we're just going to do this every year. And then you kind of got upset there 2 times in a row, and
then you played Kennesaw.
Then you played Kennesaw, and but then you had it's been a 3-year drought. So if Coach McKay and this team can get to Saturday night and be able to cut those nets down, just what an amazing feeling will be for him and his staff. Just going through it the last few years, and I know it's also something that if we're fortunate to get through, which it'll be tough, right? It's going to be a dogfight. We've kind of gone through it, but I think we would appreciate it a lot more after what happened the last few seasons, just because it kind of got to the point where we were kind of entitled a little bit. At least I was. You kind of felt like you were owed a conference championship, and it just didn't happen because it's hard. It's hard to win in March. It's hard to win a 3-game tournament or 4 games, depending on how many you got to play this week. So, I don't want us to forget, no matter what happens this week, the success the team's had this year. But at the same time, this is what you play for, right? You play for this week in March, and we knew it back in November that it was going to come down to this week. So, it's going to be a lot of stressful moments, a lot of anxious moments this week, but looking forward to it. We love March Madness. This is why we love it, and hopefully we'll all come together smiling next week this time after we find out our destination on Selection Sunday.
Matt, really looking forward to you on the call. Any final thoughts for us?
I mean, I just think the last thing in terms of Liberty, like a little bit of what John said, like it'll be hard if Liberty doesn't win this tournament to still consider this like a huge success, but I think it should be to win the league, to win this league is shows a lot about where this program is. I think it quiets down a lot of people that maybe had questions about the leadership of this program or the direction, or could they get it done at this level. To do it over the long haul, the course of a regular season, says a lot about where this program is and what they've done. However, Nick, you said it, Taylor Peters like ascending into one of these all-time flames. If they don't go to the dance, is he viewed that way? There are guys like that are here, like Moffmer, guys like that. You remember those guys. You remember the Keenan Gumses of the world because they got to play on the biggest stage. If you don't do that, is he still, do you still remember that? Not taking anything away from him personally, but you remember those guys because they got to do it on the biggest of stages. And it'd be a shame for him, for Liberty fans to not get to see them compete, in the dance. Now I know they have the NIT that's out there and all that, which is still a great accomplishment. But yeah, for those guys to be remembered that way, like you got to get there. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can find a way to navigate through what should be just an awesome tournament.
Yeah, Liberty had never played in a conference that was ranked higher than 18th prior to joining Conference USA. This is the 9th best conference, so to win this league outright is pretty impressive. The only thing that's comparable is just that the 2019 season, just not because of the conference, because of Lipscomb, because that Lipscomb team was really, really good.
So is this the best team in school history, guys? Did you bring that up?
They win this tournament, they are. They win this tournament, they are.
I do think it's Richie McKay's best job coaching a team. Yeah. In recent memory, just the way that didn't have seemingly did not have Conference USA figured out last year, and the way he utilized the portal, that's what gives me a little bit of pause, because you still have some D2 guys that have never played in this kind of pressure before. So that gives me a little bit of pause about this team, but as far as the bracket goes, but great job by Coach McKay. He's not on the hot seat anymore.
Take him off.
Take him off the hot seat. Yeah. No, I'll add to that, Will. I agree with you, and we forget, maybe we don't forget, but also the job he's done since Enan went down. Like this team has been remade, and they had a few lumps there early in conference play, starting off 2-3 in conference play, but then they figured it out, and they 11-2 since then, or whatever it's been. So, he did a great job in the off season putting the team together. He did a great job in their non-conference, just a tremendous non-conference season, and then also another good job of having this team mesh together after really having to remake it midway through the season. So, which I try not to think about just how good this team could be with number 7 in the lineup, but hopefully he'll be back next year healthy and ready to go. But a great job Coach McKay has done, in addition to what he did in the portal and in the roster management, which in my opinion, I think that was maybe one of his weaknesses prior to this year is just his lack of using the portal. I'm sure he had his reasons for that, but he figured it out and got the right guys in here. He's all about culture, right? I'm sure that's why one of the main reasons he was hesitant to get into the portal is because of the culture. That means so much to this team and this program and to him personally. So he was able to do that, got the guys in here, and like I said, he was able to remake the team remold them, I guess, after Enon went down. So just a tremendous job. And he really should be Coach of the Year in the league.
All right. Well, we will
collectively. Amen.
We will collectively hold our breaths Wednesday at 6:30. Matt Warner, really appreciate you being so generous with your time and hanging out with us. This was a blast. And we'll be back next week to hopefully talk about an NCAA tournament. If not, we'll talk about a little NIT, and we'll have a lot of fun with that. I'm excited for this week. And
Matt, you guys got your podcast. You guys recording tomorrow, maybe?
We are early morning before Naz and I drive to Charlottesville to fly out. Naz will be on the podcast. Yeah, Flame Citro podcast. So he'll be on in the morning to talk some more tourney.
Yeah, so make sure you guys listen to that. I'll definitely be tuning in this week. Get you, if you're driving down to Huntsville or whatever you're doing, throw that on as well too.
That's right.
Great stuff. All right. Well, for Will, for John, for Matt, shout out to Jason Porter Real Estate. Shout out to Ironclad Coffee. Make sure you get some Ironclad Coffee to get you through this this couple weeks of college basketball. Have a great night. Go Flames.